Summer routines live or die by how easy they are, and honestly, if something takes too much effort, I'm out. That's why Grüns is my go-to. It's my one daily pack of gummies covering my greens, vitamins, and minerals. Plus, it has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber, which is more than 2 cups of broccoli. No mixing powders, no giant pills, no hassle. I just rip open the pack and I'm done. They taste good and they make it easy to stay on top of my health, even when life gets busy. Save up to 52% with the code PODCAST at Grüns.co. That's code PODCAST at GRUNS.co.
It's the Go Gopher Podcast with Mike Grimm, episode number 24. I am Mike Grimm, voice of the Golden Gophers, and welcome back to the podcast. I couldn't be more excited for you to hear our Go Gopher Podcast this week. We're talking football and food and more. Golden Gopher senior linebacker Mariano Sori-Marin from suburban Chicago is my guest, and wow, is this a good one. Sori-Marin gives us the rundown of the offseason and looks ahead to the 2022 campaign. We'll talk football. He's also a self-admitted foodie. He's visited nearly 100 different restaurants in the Twin Cities, and he'll give us some reviews. And to top it off, Mariano will give us the incredible story of how his dad got to the United States from Cuba back in the 1960s. It's a compelling discussion that we'll dig deeper into at a later podcast as well. But for today, it's Football and Food, episode 24. You're going to love it. Our Go Gopher podcast is presented by alumni-owned Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. If you're a business founder planning to exit your business, start by contacting Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. Sunbelt serves more businesses up to $5 million in revenue than anyone, and True North M&A serves companies with revenue up to $150 million. Get a confidential, no-cost, no-obligation business valuation today. Make the most of your life's work. Visit sunbeltminnesota.com or tnma.com today. Our podcast is also brought to you by State Farm agent Tony Hoagland at ChamplinInsurance.com. Tony loves Golden Gopher football. We invite you to subscribe to the podcast. It's free to click the subscribe button, and you can listen for free at any time. You can also go back to listen to previous podcasts. That includes last week's show, which was one of my favorite interviews of all time. Al Nolan's helping his hometown of Minneapolis in a great way. You can go back and listen to that one. I'd also invite you to offer feedback on our podcast and share or retweet links to the Go Gopher podcast so others can find out about the show and listen for free. When we come back, we're talking football and food with Mariano Sori-Marin. We'll get his top 10 restaurants of Minnesota and more. But first, a word from Tony.
Hey Gopher fans, this is your State Farm agent Tony Hoagland. We are super excited to be part of the new Mike Grimm Show on Talk North. For the year of 2022, we will be donating $10 to the University of Minnesota Children's Masonics Hospital for everyone that calls our office or checks in with us online and mentions that they heard about us on Talk North and the Mike Grimm Show. We are really excited again that Mike came on board with Talk North. You can reach us at 763-421-4900. You can find us on the web at ChamplinInsurance.com. Again, 763-421-4900, or find us on the web at ChamplinInsurance.com. Roll the boat, Sky Yuma, go Gophers.
It's episode 24 of the Go Gopher podcast. We're going to talk some Gopher football and some food. Mariano Sori-Marin, Golden Gopher linebacker, with us here for our episode number 24. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you. Thank you for having me.
We're going to talk football. We're going to talk some food. I didn't know this until recently. You're a big foodie. You love to go out to eat, grade some restaurants. So we'll invite our listeners to stick around for that part of it a little later on.
Perfect. Yeah, growing up in the city of food, I would love to share some football and food, my two favorite Fs. So.
This will be great. Yeah, this will be awesome. Well, let's first talk about football. We're in the middle, I guess, or maybe just the start of the summer. I know summer school has started for some of you guys. I don't know. Maybe you already got a degree. You don't have to take classes in the summer. But what is your summer like right now?
Yeah, no, I did graduate last fall with my finance degree, but I'm still taking classes. So I started my sports management master. And no, I'm back in class with all the old heads, Tanner, Thomas Rush. We're still in class together. So, and then the football aspect, we're doing summer conditioning workouts, player practices, and this is really a time where the players get to take control of the team. And coaches are on the road recruiting. They're dealing with camps, recruiting camps, and this is when the players really come together and take control of the team heading into fall camp.
Yeah, PJ has talked about that a lot. That the great teams are player led. The medium kind of mediocre teams are coaches led, and then the teams that really struggle don't have any leaders at all. So how much do you, as an old head, as you like to say, take it upon yourself to make this a player led team now, particularly this time of year?
For sure. Yeah. We always talk about that the unrequired separates us, and that's really where the players come in, because at the end of the day, every college team in the country is doing summer conditioning. They're doing workouts, they're lifting, and everybody's on an even playing field there. So when you're talking about, making a difference and separating from the other teams, it's the unrequired work. It's the player-led practices, running smoothly, getting the most out of it. It's the extra film session, things like that, where maybe the coaches aren't there, and it's run by the older guys in the position room. So when we talk about the unrequired work, that's what makes the difference in the fall.
I know we had a Gopher talk earlier in the spring, where you talked about, I think the theme at that point was break the boring.
Break the boring. And that's still the theme going into the summer, because the summer can be, human nature will tell us that the summer's boring. It's, we're getting up, it's summer, you'd rather be on the lake. You're getting up at 6:30 in the morning to do a workout. Probably not something you want to do. But when we talk about breaking the board, that's players getting together and saying, this is what needs to be done to be, to have the success in the fall that we're looking for.
And then is there time when you try to break the boring, hey, we got our work in, there's some time for fun just to get away from it too?
Oh, for sure.
Balance,
For sure. And that's the connection part of this whole thing. And we talk, our second, theme is for each other, and that's getting together outside the building. So you're together with your work, you're connecting on that level. And on the weekend, if guys are getting together on Lake Minnetonka on a boat, that's another thing where you can just bond and really connect with your teammates.
You had some teammates down to Chicago, you said, was it last month?
It was last May. I had a few of the guys down and got to show them the city, and I'll talk about some of the food we got to deal with later. But it's just doing small trips, things like that, lasting memories that you'll have the rest of your life with your teammates.
What is a typical week this time of year for a Gopher football player? What kind of things, like, just kind of quickly take me through what a Sunday through a Saturday might look like?
Yeah, so I'll start with Monday. So Monday and Tuesday. So Monday is speed and conditioning, and then any recovery that you're doing on your own. And then we'll also get with coaches, do small walkthroughs, film sessions, things like that. Tuesday is a conditioning day, lift and conditioning, less on the field with coaches, and that's where we have a player practice. Wednesday is our recovery type day where we're doing Zen, yoga, soft tissue work, things like that. Thursday is another speed day. And lift, and then Friday's our big conditioning day. We'll have another player practice, and then Saturday and Sunday are off during the summer.
Yeah, that gets you a little recharging, I suppose, after the week. How much can you tell a difference, maybe as you've gone through your career, what this summertime means in terms of maybe strength gains, speed gains, those kind of things?
Yeah, I mean, this leading into the season and leading into fall camp, it's really important to pay attention to your body weight, pay attention to the things you're putting in your body, and pay attention to your conditioning, because once fall camp rolls around, it's full go, and there's no time to get adjusted. So that first week of fall camp is really our hardest working week, and if you're not in shape and if you're not ready, it's going to be difficult to get the gains that you need. So it's really important that during the summer, you're paying attention to those types of things, so come fall camp, you're prepared and ready to take off.
When it is a player-led team, do you find at this time of year, too, that there is a positive peer pressure, so to speak, that you don't want to let your teammates down? So, I'm going to be at the weight room at 7 a.m. or whatever it is.
That's exactly it. And it's just holding each other accountable. And, sometimes if a guy isn't where they need to be, we'll get together as a team and tell them that. And that's taking coaching. And the players are really, really good about that. And that's what makes us, an elite team. That's what separates the good teams from the elite teams is, are you able to take coaching from not just your coaches, but from the older guys on the team?
How much, I know there's rules in terms of how much you guys can see the regular coaches, the position coaches, the head coach, as opposed to maybe the strength and conditioning staff and all of that. So how much maybe during a typical week do you actually get to sit down with either Joe Rossi or whoever else and go through things, or even have a on grass kind of stuff?
Yeah, I know the rules have changed this summer, which allowed for individual periods. They've allowed for times walkthroughs with no balls and things like that. So I think it's about 2 hours a week on average. And the rest of the time is the players. And, I can sit down with Coach Rossi. What do we need to work on? What didn't we do well in that walkthrough? And I can take the defense through what Coach Rossi essentially would, and I can get back to him and, get that feedback and continue to learn and do the defense without them actually being there on the grass with us.
I think about summer workouts. I think most of us think, you get the ball and Tanner Morgan's out there and you run receivers out and everything. And I'm sure that happens. But as a linebacker or as a defensive tackle how do you get better? Are there a lot of things that don't involve the ball, or do you guys get together and try to scrimmage or captain practice that too?
Oh, for sure. There's a lot of things that don't involve the ball. And one of the things is alignment and assignment. And that's the biggest thing. Like on defense, the offense breaks a formation. We could get anything on any given play. So a big thing about defenses is getting lined up and getting set so that there's not busts, so there's not broken down coverages, things like that. So a lot of the time right now is just getting those alignment and assignments so that you cannot make a mistake. Like to the point where it's not like you got it pretty good. You got it so that you're at the point where you do not make a mistake. So come fall camp, we can just do football. And we don't have to worry about, okay, what is my assignment? What's the check here? No, we already know that. Now it's coaching technique, coaching the actual fast play of football.
How much too now you have freshmen that enroll early? The transfer portal has become a big thing as well, where you now have some newcomers where maybe they're trying to get up to speed. How important is that for the older guys too to get those guys up to speed fast enough that when the first week of August hits, they're ready to roll too?
For sure. And we put that on the positional leaders. And, if that's spending extra time in the film room, just sitting down, going through the playbook with them, just getting the guys prepared is essential because, like I said, we don't want to spend time going over what our assignment is come fall camp. We want to actually play football, and that's what everybody wants to do. So that's the quickest way to get where you want to go, is to just know your job, and then we can coach football.
Have you noticed, too, I would guess, as a coaching staff tries to build a program, and PJ does things his own way, right? I mean, there's things that he has outside the box thinking where maybe your first year, you think about any coaching staff's first year, nobody knows what's going on. You're all kind of freshmen. Now, you were in at an early stage. How much more now? Because I would guess that each year there's more guys that know what the coaching staff expects. So are you at a point now where this thing is almost running like a machine?
For sure. I mean, because I'm at the point where I've been through now 4 of these, or this will be my 5th coming up. So when guys know what's going on, it makes the operation run a lot smoother. And then it's just teaching the young guys and the transfers exactly how we do things, because we're not like everybody else. And transfers come from other schools and they do things, they're the way they do them and we do them the way we do them. And right, wrong, or indifferent, that's how we do it. And that's how we've had success in the past. So we just have to demand it and teach it at an early point in the summer. That way, the entire summer, we're able to master it. And then come fall camp, it's like second nature to us.
Talk about breaking that boring. How tough is it to not just want it to be September the 1st right now?
You just have to understand the process. When we talk about where we are as a defense, if we were to play a game today, we wouldn't be prepared. But for whatever date it is in June, we're at that point, and we just have to continue to take the next right step. So mistakes are going to be made in the walkthrough coming up this week. That's part of the process. That's part of the learning process. But we have to understand that it's not acceptable. So each day we have to work to get a little bit better and better. That way, come September 1st, we're prepared. Because we know that, we want to play football, but there's things that have to be done before that.
You mentioned you've been around the block here. So what are some things individually maybe this offseason, knowing that you had a really good year last year, maybe in the back of your mind, you're like, I need to work on this and this and this so that next year it's even a tick better than it was last year?
Yeah, my biggest thing, just talking with Coach Rossi, was my pass coverage and then finishing plays. And that comes down to film study. That comes down to just small details in technique and drops and things like that. And then as an older guy too, a big thing is just focusing on my body. I've seen and played a lot of football, so just staying healthy, not getting banged up. That way, come the season, I can last as throughout the entire year healthy, and that's just staying on the body with extra recovery, extra stretching, yoga, getting in the hot tubs, things like that just will will make this season, last longer.
Let me ask you a couple things about last year. I think we talked about this in our previous interview, the Wisconsin game. What a moment. It was so fun. Crowd rushes the field. The students are down there. Old people are down there. The axe is getting passed around. How much of a highlight has that been for your time here?
Oh, it's incredible. And just to see, coming from Chicago, I didn't fully understand what the axe meant, but becoming a Golden Gopher, you truly know what it means after living it for a few years. And, just to do that for the state of Minnesota has been such a tremendous opportunity. And just to see the joy that's put on the faces of all the fans and brought people together. We were away for a while with COVID-19 and, there weren't fans in the stands. And it was a little bit difficult as a player. But when you're able to finally come together and pack the bank and get the fans storming the field, it's awesome. And just to see everybody come together, that's what you do it for, and that's what it's all about.
I think back to that game, too, and the Gophers were an underdog at home. Wisconsin was playing to get to Indianapolis, and yet you guys pretty much controlled the game. They got a pick six. That was really their only touchdown. You guys shut down Oliver, the running back. Kind of take us through that game plan and what was the key to being a complete game.
Yeah, we always just talk about playing together. And if you look at the beginning of that football game, and we've broken that down, and the first time the defense came on the field, we were already down. And if you look at that first drive, there was a third down where we stopped them at the line. They gave them the first down. We stopped them. We got a roughing the passer. There was constant things where it could have gone either way. But we bowed up as a defense. We came together. We responded to that adversity, and then everybody remembers the outcome. But when you look at all the bad things, and I say bad things with quotations because some people could have responded differently. They could have put their head down and the game could have gone a whole different way. But we responded each and every play, and we were able to come out on top just playing together for each other.
When you see a guy like that running back, Oliver, big guy, young guy, but big, as a linebacker, what's it take to be able to say, look, I'm not going to be intimidated. I'm going to go stick my helmet on his knee, and we're going to make a tackle here.
Yeah, it's all about just trusting your training, trusting your technique. And, when you're tackling a guy like that, technique is everything because they will break tackles. And you saw it, he's a fierce runner. He's a really good running back.
He might be gone if he breaks a tackle, right?
Oh, he's gone. He's gone for sure. So we just talked about tackling him low and getting him around the waist and legs and bringing him to the ground. We were able to do that the entire game. So that was our game plan, and we were able to execute it.
Then you got the win in the bowl game, which, of course, in the grand scheme of things, what does it matter? I don't know, but it's got to leave a good taste in your mouth heading into the offseason. You beat a Big 12 team. I thought controlled that. I think it was 18-6 was the final. It could have been 30-6. I thought you guys controlled that one as well.
For sure. And the bowl games are so much fun because it's really a celebration of the season. We get to come together as a team, off campus and spend a week together, going out to restaurants, doing team activities, volunteering together, and then just to win that final game and send the seniors out with a victory is just awesome. And it's really just a cap on the season, and it springboards us into the next year. All
right, I got to ask you maybe a touchy question here. Does it eat at you that you haven't won Floyd of Rosedale yet?
For sure. Sure.
How do you go about trying to get that done this year? They're in our place this year, and do you think about it every day?
We think about the process every day, and we know what it's going to take to win that football game, and it starts with today. Because if you're thinking about that game day, then you'll lose focus on today. So getting better in the walkthrough, getting better in my lift, getting better in my recovery, those are all small details. If you stack them on top of each other, come that game, you'll be prepared. And that's what it's going to take, focusing on today, not on that day.
And I know, again, long-term for the upcoming season, you guys want to end up at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. That game might have something to say about it, so you could, really kind of knock out a double dose of things there, right?
For sure. And we talk about, that's our vision. And we remind ourselves of the vision multiple times throughout the offseason, but the main focus is today. And that's how you have to go about it, because you'll get distracted. You'll keep thinking about, things that are outside your control. That game is outside my control, sitting right here today. But what is inside my control is, what am I going to do after this? Am I going to go do some extra film study? Am I going to go do some extra recovery? That's inside my control today. And I know if I do those things to the best of my ability and everybody on the team does that together, we'll have no problem come the season.
One more thing I'll ask about, which will continue to distract you here for the moment. I know it's important now, but you get so many cool opportunities as a Big Ten player, particularly at Minnesota. You've got, as we mentioned, the axe, you've got the pig, you've got other, the jug, although that hasn't been, you haven't been able to compete for that very often.
Right.
Now, this coming year, you're also going to have a chance to play at Penn State for the whiteout. They've named the Minnesota game the whiteout. One, unique opportunity. Two, that'll present a pretty good challenge for the maroon and gold.
For sure. And, you talk about experiences that you'll never forget. And, I look at when Penn State came here. I look at when we went to Wisconsin in 2018 and won the Axe. That whiteout game will be a game that I'll never forget. And, growing up, that was always one of the cool games that I loved to watch on TV. So to be able to play in that is a great opportunity. And like I said, focusing on today, so when that day does finally come, we're prepared for it. And I'm really excited for our entire schedule, especially that one too. And these are just moments and memories that you'll get to last forever with your teammates, and you'll look back on it in 20 years, be like, remember the whiteout game, and you'll be like, for sure, you won't forget any details of that.
You guys have been good on the road too. What has been kind of a key to playing? Really, you've been. I mean, when you look at the record over the last handful of years, throw out some of those weird COVID games where you didn't have everybody and everything else. You guys have been good home and road. What do you think is part of the process there? Is it I know that sometimes people will mock PJ's idea of one championship game every week. But I do think that's a factor, right? Where you guys can flush last week and focus on this week?
For sure. And if you just we don't completely forget about it. We learn from it. And that's what we talked about with the one-game championship seasons. You take what you learned from last game and you apply it to the next one. And when it comes to playing on the road, we just talk about that the circumstance doesn't dictate our behavior. It doesn't matter if we're at a high school stadium, if we're playing in the whiteout, if we're playing at home. We're going to bring our culture with us. And, we block out, we do our best to block out the fans, all those things. And, we train in chaotic environments. You come to one of our practices, the music's blaring, everybody's running around. If you're a fan, you probably have no idea what is going on. The horn will blow, somebody will be waving a flag, and everybody's sprinting everywhere. Those situations, that chaos is what trains us to play in any situation.
Yeah, I always say that if somebody just dropped in and was a football fan, knew football maybe, but hadn't been to a practice and watched it, they'd be like, this coaching staff might not know what the heck they're doing here. They look very unorganized, but it's highly organized, right? I mean, that's the whole by design.
It's extremely organized, and the amount of time that the coaches and volunteers and GAs put into scripting a practice like that is incredible. I mean, it takes hours upon hours just to script a single practice. And I remember, when I was visiting as a senior, when I was committed, I was watching this thing, my jaw dropped. I'm like, holy moly, like, how is this going on right now? And then as a player, you finally realize, like, how much work that the coaches put in to script a practice like that. And then for the players to go out and execute it and everything to run smoothly, it's a phenomenal operation.
Yeah, and there are open practices, so I'd always encourage, if there's a chance for fans to come and watch either in the fall or in the spring as well, to do so, because it is a sight to behold for sure. I always like when all of a sudden the kicker has to run on the field in like 10 seconds, and they play the pressure song. And I was joking with Emmett Carpenter one time, because he caught the very first couple years of PJ's time when they would do that, and I'm like, if you hear that song on the radio? He's like, yeah, I still get the butterflies, man. You know, can you think about that? Song comes on and all the pressure's put on those kickers, and everyone runs out, and he's counting down, and either make or miss.
Yeah, and we one of those situations, we call that our bonsai, where we might have to rush the field goal unit onto the field. Our philosophy is probably won't have to use it, but what if a game to go to the Big Ten championship comes down to that operation? Right. We're going to be prepared for it. Yeah, and we train it every single day.
And even if not, it applies a pressure, organized pressure on everybody, right?
Yes, it just applies. All eyes on the kicker, and that's why we've seen success at the kicker position. Just if the whole team's watching, you got to make it.
No doubt. All right, hey, let's talk some food.
Let's do it.
Let's do that. So my first question about that is how'd you get interested in, like, hey, I want to go to restaurants and I want to eat and I want to make it an event and maybe grade it in the back of my mind how good this food is at this particular spot?
I think just growing up being a bigger kid, I was always eating, always hungry, and I was always a quote grown boy. So just food in general was something that was always around me. And my mom growing up was a phenomenal cook, and she still is, always cooking for me, always trying new things, and that's just what really got me into food. And I'm my father's from Cuba, so I just have that ethnic background, that different culture background, where I like to try new things and experience new cultures and the foods that they have to offer. So traveling around at a young age, seeing different places, trying new foods is just really what made me fall in love with food. And to this day, I'm still just eating like crazy. So
that's awesome. So you got to Minnesota. And when you got here, it's a pretty good eating town. There's good restaurants, right? Some of the best. I think there's a restaurant that just was named the restaurant of the year nationally here in town.
Yeah, it was.
Right?
I think it was Owami.
Yeah,
it's a Native American restaurant that opened up this last year, and I've been there. It's an awesome spot. They were just named the best new restaurant of the year by James Beard, so that was exciting for them.
Yeah, for sure. So you get to town, and you're like, hey, you know what? This is a good eating town. I like to eat. I like to go out. So you just kind of started pecking away at a list, right?
Just pecking away. And, I love the Reader's Digest, the Twin Cities Eatery, where I can just go through the top 100 restaurants and just start chopping away at that list and just going to different spots and trying new things and bringing friends along too. I got to give a lot of credit to a lot of the guys tagging along. I'm like, you want to go to this spot? They're like, what is that? I'm like, come on, it'll be good. So I got to give a lot of credit to them. And then also Garrett Chernoff, our general manager.
He comes from a food background too,
yes,
right?
He comes from a huge food background. It's the Chicago boys, I guess. Yeah. But he beats me. I'll be like, oh, have you been here? I'm gonna go to this place. Like, oh, I already been. I'm like, oh. So there's very few times where I've actually beat him to a spot. And so I give a lot of credit to him because he's always steering me in the right direction, and I'm pointing spots for him too. So it's a little fun relationship that we have.
He's given me some tips too on some different places. He knows what he's doing for sure. Can you estimate or guesstimate how many restaurants you've been to in Minnesota?
So I keep a collection.
So you track it.
I track, and I wish I would have started. I started doing it about halfway through my sophomore year, and I went back and my list is like at 98, and that's not places like around Dinkytown like my normal spots. Those are like the unique spots that I've been to once, twice.
98?
So 98 is what my list is at.
So you're 2 off 100.
2 off 100. I guarantee you I'm over 100. I wish I would have started freshman year, and I probably missed a few, but definitely well over 100 restaurants in the Twin Cities.
It's amazing, and a lot of good food. So have you come up? Have you kind of graded and said, here are my favorites?
So I have, and I came up with my list of top 10, and this was a very difficult list.
Yeah.
And I had to include 2 honorable mentions just because 10 wasn't enough.
You couldn't cut it at 10.
I couldn't cut it at 10, and I tried to put one restaurant at each different type of food, different ethnical background type of food, and here, I'll give you my top 10.
Let's hear it. All right. We need a 10. Drum roll almost,
right?
I'll
start at number 10, and I had to go with a Juicy Lucy place because I feel like if I'm giving Twin Cities food and there's no Juicy Lucy on here, let's just
lose credibility.
I might lose credibility. Let's just end this now. So I went with number 10 was Matt's Bar, and I don't know if you've ever been.
I have not, believe it or not. I've been here 16, almost 17 years. And have not been there.
Yeah, you're going to have to go check it out.
It's kind of embarrassing to say, yeah.
Well, I actually wrote down a few of the places that I haven't been that's embarrassing. As a Minnesota foodie, if you were to tell somebody I haven't been there. So I got a few of those. We'll hit that later. But yeah, Matt's Bar, incredible.
Yeah.
Juicy Lucy.
You like Juicy Lucy's?
I love Juicy Lucy's.
Okay.
I think it's a great twist on a burger.
Okay.
Just a plain, boring burger.
Yeah.
No, let's stuff some cheese inside of it, for sure. At number 9, I had to go with the local place, Shuang Chang.
Right up the road.
Right up the road,
We're recording from Athletes Village. In fact, people, you just got done taking your headshot for the media guide or something, right?
Yep.
Before you came over to record with us. So just down the street from here.
It's about 3 blocks
Really
away.
good spot. Great daily special.
Yes, great daily special. The lunch special is like $10, and it could feed you for 2 meals. So, I love Shuang Chang, and I think it's the best Chinese in all the Twin Cities. At number 8, I got Panita Taco Plus. Very small place right off Lake Street. Very small taco place, but I think it's the most authentic tacos that you can get in the cities.
I've not been there.
And first time I went there, I got the large burrito, and I'm telling you, this thing is the size of a basketball.
Oh my gosh.
And they cut it in half, and they fold. And they wrap it up twice, and they gave me the bag, and I'm like, oh man, they gave me 2 burritos.
Extra.
Yeah, I'm like, I only ordered 1 burrito, but they gave me 2 burritos. I'm like, no. They're like, no, that's the large burrito. So literally, I'm telling you, I thought I had 2 burritos, and That's like $10 too.
Holy
You
cow.
can't beat it. Can't beat it. At number 7, I got Handsome Hog.
Okay.
It's a southern barbecue, comfort food type place in St. Paul. Great food. And they got a pork chop there, a smoked pork chop that I swear is 3 inches thick.
Holy
and it's like
cow.
eating just a big old piece of ham.
Yeah.
So that's that place you got to try as well. Number 6, Revival.
Okay. Yep, I've heard that. That's on a list for sure.
Yeah, that's a
Chernoff recommendation.
Yeah, Chernoff sent me there, and they got multiple locations. I think 3 locations in the Twin Cities, and that's another southern comfort soul food type place. Their chicken and waffles is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then they got mac and cheese, shrimp and grits, things like that, just that are gonna fill up your belly and make you feel good afterwards. Number 5, I got Smack Shack.
Yeah, I've been there.
Love Smack Shack.
Lobster rolls.
Lobster
strong.
rolls. Yes.
Strong.
And then they got I love the appetizer. It's the Cajun shrimp that they bring out warm and dunk it in a little bit of butter.
Have you gotten one of those tower things that they serve?
I have not.
Yeah, we were there one night with an event, so it's always better when someone else is paying. So
sure.
That was good. They brought a couple of those towers out. That was incredible.
I'll have to give that a shot next time I'm there.
Yeah, that's a good spot.
Number 4, had to go Manny's Steakhouse.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Manny's.
It's an experience.
It is
too,
an
right?
experience.
Yeah.
They're bringing out the trays full of the meats, the different cuts. We're always bringing the recruits there because you think, Minneapolis, you think steakhouse.
Yeah.
You go right to Manny's.
For sure.
Number 3, Billy Sushi.
Okay.
It's a newer spot opened during COVID in 2020, but it's really fresh sushi. It's right over there in North Loop, and they have multiple different cuts of like the tuna maguro, which is hard to get, and it's very expensive, but it's like the finest cuts of tuna. So I have to go there for best sushi spot. Number 2, Bar La Grassa. Mm-hmm. Then that's
Chernoff like that one too.
Yeah, that's his number one.
His number one.
Yeah,
right?
so he'll probably be mad that I put it at
That's
number 2.
Italian, correct?
That's Italian. That's your classic Italian.
Yeah.
They have a phenomenal meatball. They have great pastas, all that. They bring out the bread. So Bar La Grassa number 2, and then number 1, it's a smaller place, but I have to go El Cubano. And I mentioned earlier that my dad is from Cuba, so when I came up here, there wasn't a whole lot of Cuban spots, and that place actually opened my sophomore year. And I was like, I'll go give it a shot. And the owner is actually from Havana, Cuba, where my father's from.
Wow.
So we were able to connect on that level. And when I go there all the time, I'm able to kind of just reminisce of home. The Cuban food my mom used to cook. When we'd go down to Miami to visit my great grandma, all the Cubans down there. It's food that just takes me back in a little bit of a time travel, and I'm able to experience it right down the road in St. Paul. So that's why that place had to go with my number 1.
And that's a good spot. So have you been to Twins games? They have the Tony O Cuban sandwich at the Twins game.
I have not had that. I'll have to give that a shot.
It's pretty good. Yeah,
the Tony O's Cuban sandwich. All right, I'll put that on my list.
It's just a normal Cuban, right? You got like the pulled pork and the ham and then cheese and mustard.
Mustard, pickle.
Yeah,
Yep.
It's good. It's pretty
perfect.
good. Yeah, if you get to Target Field, try that, baby. Yeah, Tony O. Anything with Tony O's is going to be good, right?
Awesome.
Good deal. So those are your top 10. You had 2 honorable mentions as
I did
well?
have 2 honorable mentions. My first one is Animales Barbecue. I don't know. It's in the Northeast neighborhood, and it's literally a food truck, but they're only open in the summer. But they put out phenomenal. It's like a Mexican style barbecue, but it's phenomenal. And so it's a food truck. They have a nice outdoor sitting area, almost like a park. You go there on a Friday afternoon, the line is an hour long. Everybody's hanging out. People got the dogs. It's a great time. So I had to give that place. And then the next one is Mara, and it actually just opened up in the Four Seasons, literally 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And so I was able to steal a reservation to get in there. The second day it opened. So I had to give that one an honorable mention just because it hasn't been open for a while, but it's a great addition to the cities. At the new Four Seasons right in downtown Minneapolis, and they got Mediterranean style food and phenomenal there as well.
Man, so you've got quite the list. You've got a big background. So I am kind of a old school steak guy. So Manny's, I like Murray's.
Yep,
Have you been to Murray's?
Murray's.
Good. Mancini's in St. Paul, like that's old school.
Never
looking.
been there.
You got to try that one. So that's an old school. Almost looks like a gangster hangout.
Awesome.
Really good steaks, really good food. They've got a Sports Hall of Fame in the restaurant.
Oh, that's
all the St.
perfect.
Paul, like Joe Mauer.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Ray Hitchcock.
I know Ray
He's
Hitchcock.
in that Hall of Fame.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's a big Mancini's guy. And then Jack's Cafe. Have you tried Jack's?
I have not tried
so
Jack's.
that's where we used to have the goal, and we still may, the Goal Line Club luncheons, the Go for Football people. So those are 2 recommendations to try: Mancini's and Jack's. You'll love
Perfect.
them both.
I'll put that
good
on the list
steaks.
now.
good overall food. In fact, in the summer, I don't know if they still do it. Jack's used to have a little like a brook in the background where you could actually catch a trout. And then they'd cook it for you.
Give it to the chef, and he's going to fry it up for you. Perfect.
So, those are just a couple of spots, but there's so many good places to eat. Like you're at 98, and I think that's a big number. But you could do another 98 and still not be half.
Oh,
done,
for
probably,
sure. There's
right?
just so many spots around here, and you just look at the community of Minneapolis and St. Paul. There's just so many people coming together and sharing in food. And when we talk about food, that's people coming together, breaking bread. So that's really the reason I love it. And Minneapolis and St. Paul, the Twin Cities, is a perfect area for it.
And then you guys also get the training tables where they bring you food. Do you have your favorite place that brings you food for the team?
Ooh, that's tough. Oh, man. I got to go Tony's Diner.
Yeah.
I got to give a shout out to the local Dinkytown spot. And
he's such a good dude, too.
Such a good dude, and he's just been supporting Gopher Athletics, and he's got a variety of things, breakfast served all day. So I got to give a shout out to Tony's Diner because he just does such a great job with serving Gopher sports. For
sure, no doubt. We when I go by there, I'll eat there occasionally when I'm on campus as well, and then you always see some student athletes going in there, and then we see him at different events where he's catering for the team, the training table and such. So that's pretty cool as well. So I got to ask you, totally off subject. And if if you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to. But you mentioned your dad was of Cuban descent. Was he born in Cuba?
Yeah, so he was born in Cuba, and he came over when he was about 3 or 4 years old.
Wow.
In the mid 1960s. Yeah, so he's been here. My parents met at college at Indiana University, and he's been living in Chicago with the family ever since.
So sometimes you have this weird, unique story of how you kind of had to escape from Cuba. Does he have a strange story? Or
yeah, so actually he does. So my grandfather, his dad, and then my great uncle, my father's uncle, were actually involved in the Castro government, and they helped Castro get to power during the Cuban Revolution. The campaign was built on, freeing the people of tyranny. And once Castro finally came to power, kind of went back on his word, started working with the Russians, went full communism. And that wasn't what my grandfather and great uncle were about. So my great uncle was one of the leaders in the Bay of Pigs, worked with the United States government to actually work to overthrow Castro. And my great uncle was captured, put in front of a firing squad, but my grandfather was, he said, no, I'm loyal. But he was still, anti-Castro, anti-government. And they were high up in the government, too. These weren't just, low-level government officials. They were very high up. And then my grandpa was able to, work a plan out. The CIA knew about it. They were able to somehow get on a plane and escape with my dad, his sister, and my grandmother. And once they got here, they were, the CIA was waiting for them at the airport, and they were tracked for like 5 years to make sure they weren't, communists. And they grew up in Lexington, Kentucky, and, fulfilled the American dream ever since then.
That's incredible. So if I'm hearing that, so your great uncle was shot in a firing squad?
Shot in a firing squad. His name was Mariano Sori-Marin, and if you look him up, he's got a full Wikipedia page. He was one of the big leaders in just the anti-Castro regime, and he was captured, killed, and my grandpa was able to escape, after that.
And so he brought your dad. Your dad was 3 or 4 years old.
Dad was 3 or 4. His sister was 1 or 2. They were very little.
Wow.
And and then they came here and fell in love with the United States and lived out the American dream.
And here we are. So they were in Lexington. Then your dad went to school at Indiana.
Yep, went to school at Indiana.
Met your mom. Yep. And settled in Chicago.
Yep, because my mom grew up in Chicago, Oak Forest neighborhood. They met at school, came back to Chicago, and the rest is history.
Man, that could be a whole podcast in and of itself.
Oh yeah, no, it's very interesting. And if you actually look up the Wikipedia page, it's like it's pretty detailed. Umberto, my great uncle, stormed the beach with arms and explosives, was captured by Castro police and military, and it's very interesting.
Holy cow. So you had probably your grandpa had some great stories, I would think.
Yeah, and he unfortunately passed when I was at a young age, so a lot of the stories come from my dad and just things on the internet, because if you look up the name, half of it's football, half of it's Cold War stuff. So, and then, my great-grandma, she actually just passed away this May. She was 101 years old, and she had incredible stories as well from Cuba. And, she lived out a great life. And that was actually the last family member that my dad had living in, super close. He's got cousins, things like that, but really super close family member that he had living in Miami. So, it's cool because each year we would go down there, spend a whole week in Miami, kind of just living out in Little Havana, Little Cuba.
Now there are trips sometimes that you can take to Cuba. Has your dad ever been back?
Family's never been back.
They could be in danger.
Oh yeah, so right? I got the same name as my grandpa, same name as my dad, and we were technically considered traitors for leaving the government, leaving the country. So I've never been back. I really want to go back. I know my dad does as well, but he says we got to wait a little bit longer, just for a little bit of a regime shift and change in political environment. But no, I'd love to go back, and that's probably my number one destination dream is to go to Cuba and just experience what I've grown up hearing about.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that the government is what it is because it's not a lot of people get to go see it. It's a beautiful country.
Beautiful country, and the beaches are phenomenal there. Out in the Caribbean, phenomenal beaches, phenomenal landscape, mountains, things of that nature. But when the government's restricting and holding it down, it doesn't get its full value because it could be a tourist hotspot, but it just limits, their capabilities and access just from the government standpoint.
What have your parents done in terms of what do they do for a living and from Indiana on to what they are up to?
Yeah,
now?
So my dad's a tax consultant. He's a partner at BDO, and he's been doing that his whole life. Just, consulting different firms on their tax policies, things like that. And then my mom's a marketing director, publishing books, things like that, for lawyers and whatnot. But yeah, no, they've been working in downtown Chicago their whole life. And, they're getting to that age where they're getting ready to retire and, all the kids are out of the house. So it's work and coming to go for football games and things like that.
Yeah. Have they missed any of your games?
Have not missed a single game. So
all the way back probably to youth, right?
Yep. I can date back to youth. Parents have been at every single game, and then college, they're at every single game.
That's awesome.
Every Gopher March, I know where they'll be. They'll be in the mid section on the right, and my mom always texts me, "I'll be on the right." I'm like, I know where you're going to be.
Yeah, every time.
Yep,
right? Every time.
And grandparents as well, my sister as well. They're always there. And
were they
supportive.
athletic or athletes as well?
So my dad played a little bit of baseball. Mom did various sports throughout high school, but never really fully at a highly competitive level. And then my sister was a really good softball player, had opportunities to play in college, chose not to just because, for personal reasons. She's a biomedical researcher, a pharmaceutical researcher in Madison, Wisconsin, actually. So that's another tough spot for her because, she's like one and only that's got the Gopher gear hanging off her balcony of her apartment. And it's a perfect stop for my parents because when they drive up for game days from Chicago, they stop right in Madison and pick her up.
Yeah.
So that's them, and they're fully supportive. So I just love them and appreciate them to death.
How did you get interested in football?
I don't know. I mean, I was always a huge Bears fan.
Yeah.
Huge Brian Urlacher fan. And at a young age, I remember I was like, I just want to play football. And I remember Mom's like, oh, let's start him off in flag. And I'm like, I don't want to do flag. And third grade came around. I'm like, I want to play tackle football. And, the age to start in Illinois is fourth grade. And I'm like, I want to start this year. And, we looked at the weights, and I was like already heavy for the fourth grader. So I'm like, when I was like, let's do it, let's sign him up, and have fallen in love since.
And here you are. Were they Hoosier fans then, like Indiana Hoosier fans?
Yeah, they were Hoosier fans. Went to some Hoosier games growing up, but they've put that all aside. And it's maroon and gold.
Now, did Indiana recruit you at all?
A little bit, not a whole lot. Did a camp there, but like I said, I didn't have a whole lot of interest coming out of high school. Just didn't play sophomore and junior year because of injuries, and Coach Fleck was one of the very few schools to take a chance on me, and the rest is history. And I fell in love with this place, and wouldn't want to do it any other way.
What do you think he saw in you?
When Coach Fleck's recruiting, sometimes he's not looking at the stars. He's looking at the person. Are they going to be a fit for our team? And I think the leadership capabilities, and they saw I could move and was going to put on size and things like that, and they were going to be a perfect fit for the defense and stopping the run, and that's what Big Ten football is about. So I think he saw that and just fell in love with him, and here I am now.
Providence Catholic High School, right?
Providence Catholic High School. We got a couple Celtics on
right?
this. Yeah, we got myself and then Jameson Gears. So
yeah.
Hopefully we can keep the pipeline alive.
Keep that pipeline going, no doubt. Mokina, Illinois.
Mokina, Illinois.
How far is that from the downtown Chicago?
So it's about a 35-minute drive. We're southwest suburb. Yeah, it's about 35, and then if you hit the Chicago traffic, you can get an hour drive.
Chicago traffic's brutal sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Ask Josh Awney about the Chicago traffic. When he drove down in May, he couldn't believe it. He's like, yeah, I'm like 6 miles away from the Airbnb, but it says 45 minutes. I'm like, yep, that sounds about right.
Yeah, you caught it at the wrong time.
Yeah, sounds about right.
That's pretty good. So, Chicago restaurants. What
yes.
do you have some picks there for us?
Yeah, I got a whole lot there. And
okay.
I'll start with a few of the chains that actually have come and expanded out into the Minneapolis area. I got to go Portillo's. You think Chicago.
There's a couple now here.
Yes,
right?
We got 2 restaurants that have opened up. I think there's one in the works to open up. I'm not sure which city, but there'll be a third one in Minnesota here coming soon. And you talk about Italian beef and Chicago style hot dogs with the entire garden on top, and charbroiled burgers. That's a spot to be, and that's kind of like our Culvers to the to the Wisconsins, and Portillo's. They're everywhere now, and they've been bought by an investment firm, so they're just expanding like crazy, which is awesome because I love to see the Chicago food just going across the country.
Right. Yeah. Anything else? What else you got?
I'll give Lou Malnati's Pizza a shout out. Yeah. That's probably what the listeners love to hear is the Lou Malnati's. And when we actually go to Northwestern games, Coach Fleck treats the team. Each player gets a Lou Malnati's pizza sitting there waiting for us.
Even the radio guy gets
Even the radio guy gets a pizza. Yeah, no, and everybody loves it. And you talk about the Chicago deep dish, Lou Malnati's is the fan favorite.
Yeah.
And there's actually a different style of Chicago pizza that not a lot of people know about, and that's my personal favorite. I love the deep dish, but the tavern style pizza, and how it originated was, at the old taverns, at the bars, they would just set out an entire pizza, and instead of cutting it in like the big triangles that everybody's used to, they would cut it in small squares. So a square is about 2 by 2 inches, just so you could snack on it at the end of the bar, and that was the bar's treat.
And it was a thinner crust.
A thinner crust, yes, like thicker cheese, thick sauce lay on, but thinner crust. And my favorites is Aurelio's, Beggars, Palermo's. Those are my 3 favorite that come to mind, and they have the best tavern style pizza.
Yeah, sweet. Now, so when we go, because for football, we always go out, the radio crew and some other sports information staff will oftentimes the night before Friday go to eat. And we've been to, it was a Chernoff suggestion, Garrett, and now I forget the name of it. It was right where we stay, because we don't stay in downtown when we go for football.
Yeah, so when we're playing Northwestern, we're more on the north side of the city.
And I can't remember the name of it. It was fine, but for basketball sometimes. So obviously, like the gold standard, it seems, is Gibson's, right?
Yes.
In downtown. Have you been there?
For steak?
Yeah, for steak.
Yeah, Gibson's is a spot for steak.
Yeah.
And that's usually where my parents actually take me. I'm home for 3 weeks in May and got to head back to school. We'll go to Gibson's for a nice final dinner before they send me off again.
See, even me at like 51 years old now, I have to slowly save up cash for that because I can't let my wife see that on the credit card bill because it can be a little pricey.
Oh, it adds up.
Chicago.
It adds up for sure. And I'm all about spending money on the experience.
Yeah.
I'm not going to buy the shoes. I'm not going to buy material things. I'm all about the experience, things that I can get joy in and remember going down the road.
Have you been to the Erie Cafe?
I have not.
So that's a spot that I was tipped off to by a friend of mine that lives there. She used to work at a radio station in town. So we went there, and Spencer Tollickson, who does basketball with me, and Dan Riesig, who used to be the sports information guy, we would go there a couple times. Great mushrooms. The staff is awesome. They wear those robes kind of like Manny's.
Yep.
And, the steak has always been good. So that's a spot you should try sometime, the Erie Cafe. Put that on the list. And then what about the Chicago Dogs? Are you a Chicago Dog fan?
I am a Chicago Dogs. There's so many spots. And usually the places that have the best Chicago dogs aren't, a place with a name. It's the truck that's sitting outside the Cubs game, or just the Maxwell Street Dogs. It's open 24/7 on the side of the expressway where, you can go at 4 a.m. or you can go at 4 p.m, and there's going to be a line down the block. So those smaller places have the best dogs. And
no ketchup, right?
No ketchup.
Can't have ketchup on the Chicago dog.
Yeah. Thomas Rush, he doesn't understand it. We go to Portillo's, he puts ketchup on his hot dog, and I'm like, you can't do that. And he doesn't understand why. And I'm like, all right, we'll see when you come to Chicago. Ask for ketchup at Gene and Jude's. That's another spot that's really popular. Ask for ketchup, and they'll laugh at at you.
They just look at you like,
they're like, we don't
not
have
from here.
We don't
Not
have
from here."
ketchup here.
And then the little celery salt.
The celery salt,
right?
yeah. So you got here. Let's see if I can figure it out. We got the cucumber or the pickle. You got tomato. You got the sport pepper. You got. Let's see. You got the celery salt, and it has to be a poppy seed bun, and then it has to be a Vienna beef dog. I feel like I'm missing something. Mustard, obviously.
Mustard, and then sometimes there's the relish too.
Yes,
right?
that's it. The neon relish.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the last one.
And at Wrigley they do now have some where it's Chicago style only, right?
Oh yeah. No, like you if you go up to the stand and you say, "Oh, I'll have a dog."
Yeah.
It's expected that's what comes on it.
Right.
Or you got to say, "I'll have a dog with everything." They know exactly what you mean. And
what's on your to-do list now here in the Twin Cities?
Yeah, so I've added
spots?
a few. Yeah, so I've added a few, and it's a little embarrassing that I haven't been to them because you look at Twin Cities foods. It's like, how have you not been here? The first one is the Nook, in St. Paul, and that's a classic place. Juicy Lucy's, and I've never been, and it's a little embarrassing.
I have not either. Actually.
I've gone there about 2 or 3 times to actually eat, but the line it's like a 2-hour wait, and it's like one of these days I'm just gonna bring my folding chair and sit out there and do the wait because I know it's worth it. And I talking with Josh Awney, a St. Paul native. He says that's the spot to be.
Yeah.
Another one is Colita. That's more towards the Edina neighborhood, but that's a Mexican style barbecue as well. It's gaining a lot of popularity. And then the last one is Psycho Susie's. That's another famous name.
I've not heard of that one, yeah.
Psycho Susie's Motor Lounge. It's never been, but I know it's a really popular spot for Minnesota people.
Yeah, for sure. So you got a few of those. One that just popped into my head that Daryl Thompson always recommended is J.D. Hoyt's.
Oh, J.D. Hoyt's, yeah. We go there. I love J.D. Hoyt's. We go there every year as a team, actually. Yeah. And that's just that's a classic supper club spot, right?
Old school look.
Old school, yeah. So we the team goes there every year during fall camp, and that's actually one of Garrett Chernow's top 5, I'm pretty sure. Loves J.D. Hoyt's. No, that's just a classic spot where you can get a nice big steak, get the potatoes, the vegetables.
Their pork chop, too. Like, they have that fire thing in the corner, and they'll throw a bunch of pork chops on there, and you just see that smoke. It's just awesome, yeah.
Yeah, no, I love J.D.
For sure. And I'm sure we're going to get, when this gets tweeted out, people are going to say, well, how about this one and this one? And that's the beauty of food.
Oh, for sure.
We'll get some suggestions, and I'm sure there'll be some restaurant people like, why didn't they mention my restaurant? We apologize to anybody we missed.
I know. I wish I could. We'd sit here for hours and hours, and I could just sit here and go through. Like I said, I've been to 100 different ones, and they're all phenomenal.
Yeah, it really is. It's hard to get a bad meal. I mean, you might catch somebody on an off night, fine, but there's so many good places.
Oh, so many good spots, and the chefs, they put passion into their food, and that's what makes it so exciting because it's their own little flair. They're an artist, You look at a football player, it's like, oh, he's got his own style of play. You look at a chef, they got their own style of cooking. No restaurant is the same from the next one, and that's what makes it exciting when you're going in there. You can get a burger 3 nights in a row from a different spot, and you're going to get a different experience each time.
No doubt. And then you've got, as you mentioned, that variety, that experience. And then as a football player, as you mentioned, you have to be in top physical shape. You have to worry about nutrition. So how do you balance all of that when you're going out to a spot and you're like, okay, here's the menu and here's my goal to play good football. So how do you handle all that?
Yeah, so I usually limit, most of the time I'm eating, at the facility, eating the things that are put in front of us just for my, nutritional standpoint. But I like to make specific days. Maybe if it's a Saturday night or, our relaxing days are on Wednesdays where we're doing Zen and yoga and things like that. Maybe I'll do lunch on a Wednesday, and I time it up specifically where I can get a good hearty meal in and still be able to maintain what I need to from the football standpoint.
Yeah, that's awesome. Anything else on food, or we need to let you go to get to your next appointment?
No. I mean, like I said, if when you guys hear this, feel free to drop in the comments the different spots. I'd love to try them, and I can comment back if I've been. So yeah. Go ahead and drop them. That's what's fun about food.
It has been really fun. One, we may need to do a separate podcast on your dad's background. That is,
for sure.
I'm glad we got into it a little bit, but we need to maybe dive a little deeper.
Yeah, there's so much that goes into that, and that's why I had to go with El Cubano at the number 1.
Yeah.
It's just who I am.
Well, and you were at the Outback Bowl, and
yes.
Right? You Ubered someplace. I remember 50 miles away because it was a great Cuban spot.
La Teresita and then Columbia were the 2 spots, and La Teresita was my favorite. Just the small diner. You go in there, everybody's Cuban, and then you got the few tourists going in there, looking to try the great food, and everybody's yelling Spanish. So that was my favorite. And I think I Ubered there 2 or 3 times. And it was a good hike, but I was like, I have to come back to this spot. So
that's great. Do you speak Spanish too?
I'm proficient in Spanish, not fully fluent, but I can hold a conversation.
Your dad speaks Spanish?
Yeah, he's fluent in Spanish.
That's awesome. That's cool. Yeah.
So it's hard when they speak really fast. I can understand everything and I can hold a conversation, but when they start yelling and things like that, that's when it gets tough for me.
Then you're just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, hey, man, it's awesome to get all this great info. I'm glad that we got some food info out there. I didn't know you were a foodie. I'm glad to know it now, and we'll have to compare notes as the season gets here.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
There he is, Golden Gopher linebacker Mariano Sori-Marin. How impressive is he? What a great example for the Golden Gopher football program. I hope you enjoyed our conversation on the Go Gopher Podcast, episode number 24. The Go Gopher Podcast is presented by Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. If you're buying or selling a business, visit sunbeltminnesota.com or tnma.com today. We're also sponsored by State Farm agent Tony Hoagland. Brandon Morton is our producer and technical expert. Again, I'd invite you to listen to past podcasts, and please be sure to click the subscribe button right now to the Go Gopher Podcast. It's absolutely free to listen at any time. And please share the link on your social media channels. We'll talk again next week.